none of them bothered to tie, hanging down the sides of their faces. Centered on the front of each cap was a silver shield with Roosevelt County Sheriff's Department in bold black letters.
"They sure shot the shit out of this place," Deputy John Mooney said, nudging one of the bullet-holed whiskey cases with the toe of his boot. He pointed a gloved hand across the room and shook his head. "They even shot those 4 cows over there in the stalls." Mooney was the oldest of the deputies, slightly slumped with age, thin white hair, twinkling blue eyes behind round, wire-rimmed glasses, and a perpetual smile. One cheek always bulged with a wad of tobacco, and he was amazingly accurate with his spitting ability. He pointed at the floor of the haymow above their heads. "Look at that line of bullet holes up there. Why in the hell did they shoot up the ceiling?" "Probably to get someone's attention or emphasize a point. There's no doubt this is meant to be a warning or a lesson to somebody," Larson stated, shaking a Camel cigarette out of a pack and sticking it between his lips. He snapped flame onto a wooden match with his thumbnail, held it to the cigarette, took a deep pull of smoke into his lungs, shook the match out, dropped it to the dirt floor, and ground it with his boot. He noticed the look he got from Durbin and shook his head. "I know I shouldn't be smoking in here, but what the hell?" He exhaled smoke, dragon-like, from his nostrils, and shook his head. "I'll be careful. At least the cold keeps this place from stinking. Think what it'd smell like in here if it was the middle of July instead of the middle of December." Deputy Durbin walked over and looked into the stalls at the dead cows. "This is interesting," he said, using his cigar for a pointer. "These critters were each killed with one clean shot to the middle of the head. It looks like his 2 overripe boys got it the same way as the cows. From the way their hands are tied, I'd say they were executed. What are their names again?" "Abner and Leroy," Mooney answered. "And I recall they weren't the sharpest knives in the drawer." "Old man Merkel and these 2 were sure chewed to shit by machine-gun fire," Larson stated, nudging one of the bodies with a boot toe. "Since they're dressed in suits, ties, hats, and fancy topcoats, I'd guess they aren't from around here. Any of you recognize them? Maybe seen them around town?" "No," Deputy Mooney snorted, and crouched to look closely at one of the top-coated strangers. "There really ain't a lot to recognize on this one after that slug tore off most of his jaw." Deputy Robert Sullivan, the department photographer, pulled open the small door, cut into the large sliding door, and stepped into the room carrying a large camera, flash unit, and canvas bag of flash bulbs. "All right, everybody step back so I can get my damn pictures taken," he said, as he twisted the first bulb into the flash unit. "The sooner we get this crap done and get to a warmer place, the better." Sullivan was tall, thin, and pale. His gray eyes squinted over the tops of his thick glasses that he was constantly thumbing back up on his hawk-like nose. The dark brown hair and long, droopy mustache were the only color on his face. His coat sleeves were too short, exposing the cuffs of his long red underwear. He was the only man in the office who could use a typewriter at a decent speed, and so he handled most of the paperwork. "We'll get out of your way, Bob," Larson said. "Let's go up to the house, boys." Sheriff Larson and Deputies Dusty Durbin, John Mooney, Bernie Ward, Dave Dixon, and Ben Graves stepped out through the smaller door and lined up looking across the snow-blanketed yard toward the main farmhouse. "Damn, that sun is bright," Durbin said, holding his hand just above his squinting eyes. Larson pulled a small pair of wire-rimmed dark glasses from a shirt pocket, hooked them over his ears, and adjusted them on his nose. "Comfort only costs a quarter at Stilling's Drug, boys. How much fresh snow we got here now? An inch or 2?
"Yeah," Mooney agreed, kicking at the snow by his feet. "Enough to give everything a light cover and show off fresh tracks."
"Okay," Larson began. "Let's start trying to put some pieces of this puzzle in place. There were no fresh tire tracks up to the barn when we got here. Today's Monday, and it snowed Friday morning. That tells us nobody's been in here since